The program was started by a Lutheran pastor who had been a therapist, a psychotherapist for 10 years. So he started this program where he combined what he thought was the best of psychotherapy and the best of theology. And his church really lapped it up, and the church down the road asked, can we get involved in this program? And pretty soon every church in St. Louis was doing it, and then it expanded beyond that and became a national program. It had all sorts of answers for us of how do you deal with people going through transitions? And you can't do everything, but you can be with them. And there are a lot of people like me that didn't know how you did that. As an engineer, I didn't have any training in anything like this. And so we started off, and this is about 1988, and we trained our first class shortly after that, and we've had 10 to 15 people from Epworth in the Stephen Ministry program ever since then.
Through 50 hours of training, I learned how to be a Stephen minister. And that's been a really wonderful experience for me, because sometimes when people are in need and need a listening ear, I can be that ear.
Stephen Ministry has given me that kind of an extra dose of spiritual uplift, spiritual food that I was looking for, spiritual nourishment. And it's through that giving, caring ministry that the sustenance that I get from the services and other ministries at Epworth has really been sort of like turning up the gain on it for me.
Stephen Ministry was a really valuable training for me because I longed to help people, but sometimes I couldn't even figure out where my boundaries were with other people when they were suffering. So when I began to work as a Stephen minister, I was able to share very deeply with people in this community as a person giving support, but not becoming one with that person, you know. And then at one point, I became so overwhelmed by having cancer myself that I was offered a Stephen minister. And at first I kept saying, no, I don't need it, I don't need it. And finally I thought, you know, I really do need someone to come and talk with me and just pay attention to my heart, and whatever I want to talk about, I can talk about. And this relationship has blossomed into one of great friendship, as did one where I was Stephen minister, so to that person. So this has evolved and led to great strengthening of bonds in my life.
I had a long-term experience, one care receiver for many years, like more than 10. And so we got to be, well, it was just very intimate, and it was very rewarding to know that I could give that to her.
I was really afraid about this operation, and I put it off for a long time and finally couldn't. Part of my anxiety about it was that I would be home alone and that this is a major operation. And several things happened, and one of them was the Stephen Ministry. I was really surprised. I hadn't thought about it, I hadn't expected it. And I was contacted, and a person from Stephen Ministry came to my house once a week for 3 months. But it meant so much to me because I was isolated at home doing these exercises and wondering when all this was going to, come together. And here she was every week. When I had my second knee operation, it happened again. So it's, and this time I did expect it. It was because and it meant as much the second time. So I'm incredibly grateful for the Stephen Ministry.